why do some smokers live long? I mean, why are there some smokers who are able to, you know, even do a remarkable physical feats um, and still smoke? Well, look, let's dive into this because um, it is important to recognize that in any population, you are going to have some aberrations. You are going to have some people who, for example, may have genetic advantages that give them some kind of protective effect. All right, we've all heard of people who smoked all their lives and live to a ripe old age. Okay, whereas there are other people who don't smoke and unfortunately get lung cancer and die. It's tragic, and that healthy people, otherwise healthy people, who are not smoking, seem to, on occasion have that. But we do know that there's a huge amount of data of the damage that smoking does for you and how quickly your body can recover, including lung capacity, risk of lung cancer, the removal of carbon monoxide from the body, and the reduced risk of stroke and heart disease, and many other benefits from quitting smoking. Okay, but let's look at this. Why do some smokers live long? Because I think that it speaks to the motivation that some people have to not quit smoking, which is, well, look, there are all these people who are still living long lives. I mean, if they can live long lives, maybe I can. Well, probably not. Probably not. Okay, because it's a small number of people. All right. But let's look at this. Okay. All right. Look, it's very well established, the science around the negative effects of smoking. All right. Now, this was a study, it was actually a study done a few years ago in the Journal of Gerontology. Okay. And they were looking really at genetic markers, whether people might be more predisposed to live long lives. Okay, what they call longevity. So do you have other people who have more, should we say, genetic markers that give them a predisposition to longevity? Okay, so this was from the University of Southern California, USC, together with UCLA. Okay, where they were looking at smokers who had lived to 80 or longer despite smoking. Okay, and then they were looking at non-smokers of their own age, and then smokers who were younger. Okay, so both groups of older individuals were comparable until they found in terms of their mortality and inflammation, all this kind of stuff when they took blood tests. Okay. Now, the interesting thing was the younger smokers had higher rates of mortality compared to other people of their own age. All right. So what this basically meant is that the reason that this hypothesis seems to be gaining a little bit more, should we say, a little bit more positive data in its favor is if folk had smoked all their lives and made it to 80, if you compare them against non-smokers who are 80, they're basically comparable, okay, in terms of their the signs of disease, like markers of inflammation. When you look at younger smokers, okay, who haven't made that, so we don't really know with those younger smokers really where they're going to go, whether they're going to really, I guess, whether they're going to, how long they're going to be around for. But if you compare those younger smokers with young non-smokers of their age, the non-smokers are clearly winning and doing much better. Okay, so what this meant is that the majority of the younger smokers really were, well, they're not predicted to live as long. Then they're not going to make it to the ripe old age of 80 or above. Okay, statistically, that is. Okay, and there will still be some people who do. Okay, but you really probably wouldn't want to be betting on that. Now, when they looked at the genetics on this, okay, they found some what they call genetic sequences, okay, and they could calculate a risk score based on how many of these sequences an individual had. All right, and if you had more of these, sort of, should we say, genetic advantages, well, you were more likely to live longer. So they didn't, in this particular study, understand or look at the role of those genes. Okay, it may be that it's repairing cellular damage from the environment. Okay, but they think that these genetic sequences seem to have some kind of protective effect. Okay, so look, there might be lots of reasons why there are a small number of people who have these kind of advantages to live longer. And I guess the most sort of the most hardcore smoker who likes to argue the toss might say, well, I would rather find out those advantages and find out the research among them, or see if there's a way in which I could cultivate those genetic advantages or epigenetic advantages so that I can carry on smoking. Or I'm going to seek to find other factors in terms of nutrition and so forth that could reduce somewhat or mitigate the effects of smoking. But the evidence is still really, really clear. Okay, there are some people, and we don't quite know why, okay, are able to live long. They're able to live longer than average. All right, we know that it's a very, very small subset of the population of smokers, and if you compare it to young people who are smoking, okay, we can already see in the vast majority of those young smokers, when we compare them to non-smokers, that they are really suffering, that the odds of them doing well are not good. All right, in terms of their life expectancy and health, complications and risks of lung cancer and stroke and all these things. A few of them will survive long term. We don't know exactly which ones. All we know is that when we look at 80-year-olds and above, there are a few who have smoked all their life and are okay. Like they don't have crippling emphysema, for example, or COPD. They're actually fine. And they're as fine as they have the same level of problems that non-smokers do. Okay, which is to be expected, in a population, an aging population. Okay, so we don't know why smokers live long. All we know is that there are a few of them. Okay, but you're not going to know, and we don't really know what those factors are. And even when they do, and even if they come out with some tests to look at those genetic markers, that's just going to be a hypothesis, and you're still going to be batting against the overwhelming odds that smoking is detrimental versus the very, very quick benefits that you get when you quit smoking. Like, remember, within 8 hours, carbon monoxide level is going to be 50% reduced relative to somebody who carries on smoking. All right, just within 8 hours, that's going to change. Within 24 hours, carbon monoxide's out of your body, the carbon monoxide from smoking. So the benefits you can accrue are very, very quick. So there shouldn't be a reason or an excuse not to quit. Okay, because there are clear benefits to quitting, and the statistical evidence is overwhelming of the negative detrimental effects of smoking. So simply understand this. There are anomalies in everything. Some people, yes, can smoke and live long lives, all right, but overall it's something better to quit that. Even just from this point of view, right, if you quit smoking, there's one less role model of smoking in the world, because even if you did have that gene, all right, every child, every teenager, every other person in the world who sees you there, you're potentially a role model for. All right, so why not be a role model? And they may well not have that protective gene, so why not just be one of those people who's quit and be a model for other people in the world that you can change, that you can make a change and you can transform. And remember, it can be very helpful to have support in that, and If you ever want to have a conversation about that, and there are people out there who can do that, I'm very happy to do that as well, to have a conversation about quitting smoking, because you can do it. And when you do that, you'll receive the benefits very, very quickly.